So what if I told you that one of the biggest threats to your digital security isn't some super sophisticated hacker from halfway around the world? What if it's actually just a simple mistake, something you or your team might be making right now? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most common, yet most preventable digital threats out there, security misconfiguration.
And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? This really captures the entire problem perfectly. It's not about attackers breaking down complex defenses, it's about simple human oversight. It's about basically handing the keys to the kingdom to anyone who just happens to jiggle the doorknob.
So what does this actually mean in tech terms? Well, it's the failure to properly set up security for an application or a server. And here's the thing, this isn't just one weak spot. It can pop up anywhere. The web server, the database, the cloud infrastructure itself. And a lot of the time it happens simply because default settings are built for ease of use, not for security. All right, so let's get into our first section. We're going to explore exactly how these simple, everyday mistakes can leave our most critical systems dangerously exposed.
You know, it's really important to get that security misconfiguration isn't just one thing. Nope. It's a whole category of common, totally preventable mistakes. Let's take a look at some of the biggest offenders.
First up, the classic, the one we've probably all seen, forgotten keys. This is the big one. You install some new software, maybe a new piece of hardware, and it comes with a default username and password like admin and admin. Forgetting to change that, that's the digital version of leaving the master key sitting right in the lock for literally anyone to find. Next, you've got what I like to call open windows. Think about all those extra services like FTP or Telnet, or maybe features like debug modes. They might be enabled by default, but you don't actually need them. Well, every single one of those is an extra entry point, an open window that just makes it easier for an attacker to find a way in.
And then, oh boy, there are the revealing blueprints. This is when an error message is just way too helpful. You know, it tells an attacker exactly what database you're using, what software version is running, maybe even what your internal file paths look like. For an attacker, oh, this is pure gold. It's like being handed a free map of your entire system's architecture.
This slide just lays it all out, plain and simple, right? Look at the difference. On the left, a bad configuration is basically rolling out the welcome mat for trouble. But on the right, a good configuration shuts all those doors. And the key thing here is that getting from vulnerable to secure is often just a series of deliberate, common-sense choices. Okay, so we've talked theory. But what happens when these simple little mistakes get made in the real world, on a massive scale? Let's look at a really high-stakes case study, the 2018 NASA breach. Yep, you heard that right. Even an organization as smart and as tech-savvy as NASA isn't immune to this stuff. A single, simple configuration error on one of their internal servers basically opened a door that should have been sealed shut, exposing a ton of sensitive data to the public internet. So how did this whole thing go down? It's like a domino effect. Check it out. Step 1. The attackers found the public server just sitting there. Step 2. They took advantage of the default permissions that were never tightened up. Step 3. That one mistake gave them access to all sorts of sensitive project details. And from there, Step 4. They found links that led them straight to the source code, all of it, from one little misstep. And the consequences? Well, they were huge. We're talking about sensitive mission data getting out, internal system details being disclosed, not to mention the potential for adversaries to gather intelligence, and of course, a major blow to their reputation. It's just a powerful reminder that a tiny crack in the foundation can threaten the whole building. Okay, that's the scary part. We've seen the problem, we've seen what can happen. Now for the good news, and the most important part, how do we actually fix this? Let's talk about how to lock it all down with a practical framework to keep your configurations secure. It really all boils down to these 4 core ideas. First, you got to harden your systems. That means getting rid of those admin/admin passwords and applying known security standards. Second, minimize your attack surface. If you don't absolutely need a feature, turn it off. Get rid of it. Third, automate your configurations. This is huge because it helps prevent human error and makes your security consistent. And finally, number 4, you have to constantly monitor and audit your systems. You're looking for any changes, any drift from that secure starting point. It's a cycle, right? Not a one-time. And here it is, your practical, no-nonsense checklist. Change every single default password. Turn off services you don't use. Put in the right HTTP security headers to block common attacks. Make your error messages super vague. Keep everything patched and up to date.
And for sure, regularly check who can access what, especially in the cloud. You know, like those S3 buckets where one wrong setting can expose everything.
All right, let's bring this home with what is probably the single most important takeaway from all of this. Let's talk about your security's first line of defense and why getting the configuration right is the absolute foundation of everything. Just let this one sink in for a second. You can have the most brilliant developers in the world writing flawless, secure code, but all of that amazing work can be completely worthless if the environment it's running in isn't locked down properly. We started with that idea of an unlocked door, right? So let's end there. Think of it this way. A bank can have the most advanced, impenetrable vault in the world. But none of that matters if the front door is just left wide open for anyone to walk right in. Security configuration, that is the front door. So, as we wrap up, I'm going to leave you with one simple but absolutely critical question to ask yourself and your teams. Is your front door locked? Because in the digital world, that's a question you really can't afford to get wrong.